Welcome to Psalm 16. The Lord is my portion. Before we go into the psalm, I'd like to mention that what I would like to do is put together a bibliography of sorts, a list of all the books that you see behind me, and put them in categories, and then have pictures of the different books. So somebody in the future, if anybody out there watching would want to know what books you would need to use to translate the Bible or to learn things about the Bible, hopefully that type of bibliography would be useful to many people. Most of everything that I have behind me is dedicated for the Apostolic Bible usage, and some of the books go back into the 1500s. So I think it would be interesting to show these books in the future. Here I'll put together the videos probably under certain subjects of the different types of books that I have, like lexicons. Basically, it's a dictionary, but it's used for one language to another, rather than just a dictionary, which would give you the English word and then the English explanation. Here you would have the Greek word with the explanation in English. That makes it a lexicon. Grammars. I have Greek grammars and Latin, Hebrew. Books on various authors. Only have four authors that I used. Books from them, that would be E.W. Bullinger, Edersheim, Erasmus, and Josephus. Then a video on concordances, various concordances that I have. Then books of the classics that I used that help understand Greek words that are used in other places outside of the Bible. Then Bibles, English Bibles, and then Greek, Latin, Hebrew. Well, not so much Latin, but the Hebrew. Then a video on Bible helps, atlases, dictionaries, books on geography. Those would be all under Bible helps. I said a dictionary, I meant encyclopedia. And then a video on textual criticism, which I have quite a few books on, which would be of interest to many of you. So hopefully I will get going on that and begin working on it, having the videos. They will probably start off with a video on covering the whole aspect, and then where the location where you'll find it, sort of an introduction. Going into Psalm 16 now, we see the Lord is my portion. It says an inscription, a stylographia, writing, loga, graphia, words, and a stele is a monument, like the Washington Monument, some sort of a monument. So an inscription on a monument attributed to David. So apparently there was someplace in Israel that this monument existed. Verse 1, guard me, philaxon me, Kyrie, oti apisi ilpisa, ipato Kyrios mu isi, oti ton agathon mu, u krian echis. Tis agiis, tis entigiavtu, ethavmastosen o Kyrios, panta, ta thelimata avtu in avtis. That's a couple of verses there in Greek, and it begins, guard me, O Lord, in the vocative, which is a Lord or George or Harry, guard me, so-and-so, in the imperative, for upon you I hoped. We hope upon the Lord. And hope is something that we haven't seen the end. We hope on, in the New Testament it says we hope upon something that we haven't seen. But we have this hope, and we hope upon God, hope upon the Lord, Kyrios, Jesus Christos, Jesus Christ. I said to Kyrio, now this is Kyrie, the vocative. Here we have the dative, to the Lord, in the indirect object. And now we have the nominative, the subject of the sentence, you are my God, or you are my Lord, I'm sorry. For you have not a need of my goodness. The Lord is who he is, and David is acknowledging this is who my God is Kyrios. And he says, you have not a need of my goodness. Interesting thing for him to say. God doesn't depend on my goodness. He wants to see it, though. The Lord wandered or marveled over the holy ones in his land, which would be Israel, all his willing ones among them. So the people that are, he marvels over the wonderful people that are doing the things of his. But then it says their weaknesses were multiplied. So the people that are in the land, many of them are not following the Lord. And their weaknesses grew and grew until eventually the people were taken away by Nebuchadnezzar into Babylon. So their weaknesses were multiplied, and when that begins to happen, then bad things also follow. And they hastened after these, I put gods, because that's what I think he's talking about. They went into idolatry. In no way shall I bring or gather the ones of their gathering from out of blood, the people that are violent, killing people, nor in any way shall I mention their names through my lips. Now, David did violent things. He was a ruler and he fought, but apparently the difference between some people and their violence, if it's for God in the Old Testament, was different than if it was against Kyrios, against God. And David is basically showing that in no way shall I bring together. Now David is probably saying this, that he is not going to be with the ones that are doing bloodshed for no reason. This is what I'm guessing. Nor in any way shall I mention their names through my lips. The Lord is the portion of my inheritance and of my cup. That is the things that he receives, that David receives, and the Lord is a portion of our inheritance, what we inherit from God through Jesus Christ, inheriting eternal life. One thing, of my cup, of whatever we are given. You are the one restoring my inheritance to me. Now, his inheritance could have been something that was questionable, because he was fighting against King Saul, and King Saul could have very well have killed him, but yet the Lord delivered him and gave him the inheritance, which was the king of Israel. That was his inheritance. The measuring lines fall unto me in the most excellent places. He received wonderful things. The measuring lines, like the borders, the boundaries of most excellent places. It wasn't some desert out in the middle of nowhere. This is what he inherited. But also us, we are going to inherit most excellent places. The measuring lines for us, I believe, are the New Jerusalem. that comes down out of heaven. It's measured by measuring lines and gives the measurements, and it's a cube that comes down out of heaven about the size of the planet Pluto, and the moon would fit inside of it. Yes, for my inheritance is most excellent to me. New Jerusalem is most excellent to me. I will bless the Lord. And here we have the Kyrion, the accusative, where he's the object. I will bless the Lord, the one bringing understanding to me. But still also until night, my kidneys corrected me. Well, a kidney is an internal organ. It doesn't correct. It cleans out the fluids of the body. I'm not very good in biology, but the kidney, I believe, cleans up fluids and so forth. And he's using this as the part of the body correcting me. The heart was also used this is a figure of speech. There's an interesting studies on the figure of speech, and we'll go through a few of the books that I have on that when we get to that section of the helps. Now we go into a quotation. So he had this night vision. My kidneys corrected me. The night vision. And then what he saw, I foresaw the Lord before me always. Now we have this from here to pretty much, I think, till the end of this psalm is mentioned in Acts 13:35, and then in Acts 2:25. I foresaw the Lord before me always, for he is at my right, that I should not be shaken. So David saw the Lord, and he was at the right. And so did Stephen saw him. On account of this, my heart was glad, and my tongue exalted. And still also my flesh shall encamp in hope. Now our flesh, we are encamped in hope. We are hoping for the Lord, Jesus. For you shall not abandon my soul in Hades. Now here is a reference that goes into Jesus. You shall not abandon, it could be both, but it's used in the New Testament for Jesus, but he will not abandon our soul in Hades. We will not be stuck in Hades, Adin. Nor shall you give your sacred one to see corruption. And it mentions how David did see corruption. He did die, but Jesus didn't. He was raised. And then that's the end of one part of the quotation. You made known to me the ways of life. And Jesus did do this. He is the way, the truth, and the life. And you shall fill me of gladness with your face, or your countenance, or the presence of him in front of him. Delightfulness is at your right until the end. Now, the first one here is in Acts 13:35, and Paul is at Antioch of Pisidia. I believe that's in Asia Minor. And he mentions here, and as in the second psalm, he's talking to the people there, the Jews at a synagogue, and he's trying to explain to them the things of Christ. And as in the second psalm, it has been written, you are my son, and I today engendered you. And that was another, not the quotation we just had, but I'm just putting this in reference. It's in verse 35 is the quotation that we just went through. And that he raised him, that is Jesus, from out of dead ones, no longer to be about to return unto corruption. Thus he has spoken, that I will give to you the trustworthy, sacred things of David. And now this is still not the quotation from 35, it's in Psalm 16. Wherefore also in another he says, now this is it, you shall not give your sacred one to see corruption. That is what it was referring to in another psalm. He means, you will not give your sacred one to see corruption, and Jesus did not. And he continues and shows that for David, 3, indeed, having assisted his own generation by the counsel of God, went to sleep and was added to his fathers and saw corruption. So he is showing here, Paul is showing that this quotation of what we read is about Jesus. But the one whom God raised did not see corruption, that is Jesus. Let it be made known to you then, to men and brothers, that through this one a release of sins is announced to you. Now, in Acts 2:25, it mentions, this is not with Paul, though this is earlier. I believe maybe this was, I'm trying to think of when this was. Maybe it was Peter. He's talking to the Jews, but whatever. It was whom God raised up. Well, it starts out, this one delivered up by the confirmed counsel and foreknowledge of God, having taken, you did away with by lawless hands taking him up, whom God raised up, having loosed the pangs of death. So he's telling these people that had killed him in front of the rulers that what they did, insofar as it was not possible for him to be held by it. So now, how does he prove it? Well, he proves it, and he says, for David says concerning him in this psalm where we're at, for I foresaw the Lord before me continually, for he is at my right hand, that I shall not be shaken. On account of this, my heart was made merry, and my tongue exalted. But still also my flesh shall encamp in hope. For you shall not abandon my soul into Hades, nor shall you give your sacred one to see corruption. And this is Jesus. You made known to me the ways of life. You shall fill me with gladness with your countenance. That's he uses that. And then he continues, and Peter says, men, brothers, it is allowed to speak with an open manner to you concerning the patriarch David, that both he came to an end and was entombed, and his tomb is among us as far as this day. A prophet then being, and knowing that God swore an oath to him from out of the fruit of his loin, the one according to the flesh, to raise up the Christ to sit upon his throne. So these quotations in 16 are used as the proof that Jesus is the Messiah coming. He will be raised from the dead, not seeing corruption. Then the next psalm, the changes, and the Lord listens to our just cause. Just cause, well, he hears all the bad things we do too, but hearkens to him. Isa kuson, hearkening to it, doing something about it. And we'll find out how God hearkens, does things, listening and hears and does and acts in Psalm 17, our next video seminar. Hope you'll join us then. Till then, God bless.